Happy Monday.
Woo! Welcome in the fold.
This is my favorite show ever.
Welcome to In the Fold.
I'm Jake.
I'm Elaina, and today we're reviewing
Revenge.
Stan Dimitri, my associates.
Hi.
We went to the IFC Center to the opening night for the first ever What the Fest film festival, partly run by a friend of ours, Sarah Moto.
And their slogan is expect anything.
Which was accurate.
Movies that were up at this festival
Right.
were all totally different.
It came as like a package deal with a bunch of other kind of weird niche stuff.
Right.
Before we saw Revenge, there was a 20-minute presentation about ants, which I didn't pay off until probably
the
20
movie.
minutes into the movie, where I was suddenly like, why did we watch that presentation about ants? What was that about? And then
Because it was about how ants are like
the ultimate
most
hunter.
dangerous hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
in,
like
the
eat
world.
anything and they tear everything up and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
And the movie definitely was about, hunting, being hunted. It had a very like predatory vibe.
There were ants in it.
There were ants in it.
The ant video in the beginning kind of really set the tone.
Yeah, it set me up to be horrified by what I was about to see. Everybody's really French
Super French.
in this movie.
Well,
It
it's
was
made
like
by a French woman, Coralie
Fargeat.
I really don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Let's
Fargeat.
double down on Fargeat.
Fargeat.
There are going to be some French names in this review that we don't get right.
We are from New Jersey. We don't have a good accent for this. You can hear it. You can hear the accent, and it's terrible.
Coralie Fargeat.
Hey,
What do you
oh, she
want?
wrote it too.
Oh.
She did the words.
She did the words
She
too.
did the words.
No.
Et moi aussi, beaucoup de femmes, c'est vrai, de jeunes femmes, voilà, public jeune, sont venues vers moi en me disant « Ah, mais ça fait du bien, merci d'avoir fait ce film ». On sentait ce côté très...
When we both saw the trailer for it before going into the festival, we were both kind of a little skeptical. It seemed a dumb, by the numbers, somebody wrongs the protagonist and then they set out and kill everybody, and it really exceeded, I think, all of our expectations. It
Definitely.
was very clever and beautiful and really engaging, and it sort of challenges you to not look away. It was so gruesome that it was hilarious.
Right.
I found myself laughing at many times throughout the film because what I was seeing was so
Gross.
ridiculously violent and disgusting.
For me, violence and humor often go together in the movie I loved, and humor is also a way to make violence bearable, and to create something fun about it.
My head was like spinning when I walked out. I was like, that was so good. And we all looked at each other and I think we were like, I can't believe what I just saw.
I can't believe that was
crazy.
good. Yeah, for me, I really thought it was going to be like one of those terrible torture porn horror movies where it's just, hot girl getting mutilated.
Right.
Like, I thought that's what this movie was going to be. And I
Right.
was so pleasantly surprised that that's not what it was.
The very beginning of it and the setup, they present this incredibly sexy, flirtatious character, and they really have her like flaunt her looks and her free personality. It's like the ultimate middle finger to that whole argument that anyone who is assaulted in any way is
Asking
guilty
for it.
or asking for it in any way, or that someone's behavior justifies that happening to them. So
Right.
this movie really very cleverly puts up like two middle fingers to anybody who thinks that, and righteously so.
Drive me completely crazy.
This film stars Matilda Lutz, who I haven't really seen in anything of their
She's in the
new...
new Rings movie that just came out.
So Matilda Lutz plays Jennifer, who's this young mistress of a guy named Richard, played by Kevin Janssens. Again, sorry about the names. They go on this trip to the desert.
We're not sure where this movie is based.
It looked like it could have been maybe like Morocco.
It could have been Morocco. Could have been Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah. And everybody in the movie, except for Jennifer, was like French.
Was French.
Anyway, they go to this.
It's an isolated hunting lodge. They have to take a helicopter to get there,
where no one can like hear you scream.
Her and Richard spend this romantic kind of weekend together, and he's trying to get away from his wife and kids. She is happy to just get away. She wants to see the world. She talks about going to Canada and seeing the beautiful country of Canada. They have sprawling terrain and waterfalls and mountains.
Majestic moose.
Saskatoon, I hear, is great this time of year.
Come on. I mean, Saskatoon. Visit Canada. Their getaway is interrupted unceremoniously by Richard's two hunting pals, played respectively by Vincent Colombe and Guillaume Bouchetti. The moment they're introduced is almost like a jump scare. And they're standing there, these like rugged dudes. They are just staring and ogling at her through this pink plate glass window. And it's this moment that is really drawn out.
Definitely a tone shift. It's like she's there with her boyfriend, and just to have these henchmen show up.
The following day, Stan, having gotten some idea in his head that Jennifer is like super into him because of this whole striptease that unfolds, comes on to Jennifer, and when she kind of pulls away, he rapes her.
Right.
Dimitri sees it going down and
grossly
eats this candy bar thing, and it's like super close up, slow motion, and you
just
hear
like nougat. It's
like
so gross.
this crunching sound,
which they do a couple of times in this movie, which is a really interesting device that they use.
There are a few moments where they show you really macro shots of
a mundane
thing, and they put these sound effects in that are like booming, crazy, loud, and detailed.
And they make this mundane, like this man is just eating a candy bar, they make it pornographic. They make it just really explicit, and the juxtaposition of that to the rape is just it was a very powerful device.
When Richard comes back and finds out about this, at first you think that he's gonna be good about it. Altercation over this disagreement of the best way to approach this situation quickly turns into Jennifer fleeing the house. Richard, Stan, and Dimitri go bolting after her through this open desert, this really hostile terrain, and they end up at a cliffside.
And then he pushes her off the side of the cliff to where she falls on a dead tree, which pierces her stomach.
So she's like belly up in the sun,
impaled.
Tree, and it's like so horrifying.
It is gross.
They say like,
let's go hunting.
Let's go hunting. Pretend like nothing happened, so we have an alibi. From there, Jennifer wakes up, is sort of reborn in a way, and she manages to run away. So now they've come back to the scene and she's gone. And so now they have to find her and silence her, and she's on the run trying to survive.
And a gaping hole in her stomach.
And a huge, bloody, oozing, gaping wound. Something that I really think was cool about this film is that all the damage that's inflicted upon people is not inconsequential. When someone gets shot or stabbed, or even something as little as stepping on glass, it is something that they have to deal with going forward. It's not one of these movies where someone takes a bullet in the shoulder and then they keep fighting.
Power through.
It's like, really, if you get hit, the movie is continuing to deal with the conflict that you're in, but it introduces that as a new obstacle. Every second of this movie has some clever device working. It's never quite as simple as a gunfight. It's always like the gunfight takes place in a layout of a house that's very convoluted, so it ends up in people chasing each other around in circles.
Going in circles, and there's windows,
there's windows and corners, and it always makes everything more interesting.
There's a TV blaring, so you can't hear the other person
Right.
moving.
Right.
It takes, there's like always an outside element to
Right.
whatever is happening.
There's just always some kind of clever manipulation of time or space or a cinematic device that tears down your ability to feel comfortable in an environment. Everything is heightened. They do a good job of making these things that we've seen a million times, people fighting with weapons, really engaging and interesting. There were a couple things that I didn't love, but they were very nitpicky. Most of them were continuity. The way that she deals with the wound in her abdomen from having been impaled through and through by this tree.
Right.
I feel like when she deals with it, they kind of leave out her back. There was one critical moment in the movie where Richard is looking out over the horizon to see if Jennifer is hunting him, and they're trying to put across this image like he's looking across the desert and there's nobody out there. But in the background, out of focus, you can clearly see like another property, like a farm or something, and somebody like riding a bike. Again, it seems so nitpicky, but you set up this moment where they're totally secluded, and so much of this movie hinges on the seclusion of the characters. So
Like
when
there
you see in
had
the
to have been
background,
another take. Like
yeah.
there had to have been just like, one without the car.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the dialogue.
Okay.
I think it was a little forced, but I feel like that might be because, the English felt forced, and I feel like that's because we're dealing with someone whose native language is French.
Mostly French actors.
Mostly French actors.
The fact that we added some English language in it helped to gain some international value and get more money from the international parts.
I had a problem kind of with the pacing of the first third of the movie.
Okay.
Before it gets to the cliff part. I think everything after that is paced really well, and
Right.
even though it's elongated and drawn out, but I think the first part is still elongated and drawn out, but it doesn't have to be. Like there's so much
Right.
detail that doesn't have to be there in the
Right.
first third, because ultimately it doesn't matter.
In a way, it helps to slowly burn in the suspense, but
Yeah.
at a certain moments of the film, it does get
It
a
pulls
little
out.
bit bloated. And I think part of it is because so much detail is paid to every single thing that happens in the movie. Like, if you're gonna pay that much attention to every detail, which is something I loved about the movie, the cost of that is that parts of it feel a little bit bloated.
Right. I loved how this movie looked.
The cinematography was by a guy named Robert Haver, who I don't know any of his other work, but I mean, this movie was totally gorgeous and exceptional in that it was beyond having just great lighting and great framing and great movement.
The colors.
The colors were amazing.
The use of color, the use of the space they were in.
Right, the use of architecture
Yeah.
and set design to accentuate certain points. Like, I think we talked earlier about how the first moment that Stan lays eyes on Jennifer, it's through this like one section of the plate glass windows that's like hot pink. So you're seeing her through
You're
this
seeing
like
her through rose-colored glass.
yeah, a lot of very long Steadicam shots are used throughout the house that really make you feel like it's happening in real time. Although, in that last scene where they're doing the Steadicam stuff, I did see the Steadicam op hit a wall at one point.
When he's coming around the corner.
Tiny gripe, and I didn't even care. I saw it, and I actually liked it.
Fake blood became very early a big issue. Nobody was expecting that I would want so much blood on set. So nobody was really prepared, and nobody was really prepared to deal with the consequences of everything being very slippery.
So much blood, and there's a slip and slide of blood at the end of this movie.
As this big, intense bloodbath of an ending is happening, you just, every time they round the corner and get closer to where the TV is, you start hearing that commercial come back
There's
on.
like a
It's
Shop
like it keeps
USA
going.
infomercial
Like a QVC
happening.
thing.
The Shop USA, the SCUSA, whatever it is, like ad playing is these two women. They're really dolled up, selling something, trying to look attractive on camera
Right.
to sell stuff.
Right.
While our female protagonist is like taking the power back in a brutal shotgun fight.
Covered in blood.
Covered in blood. She's like fought her way to the gates and she's breaking them down. I thought that was like really, really funny and clever and almost like the thesis statement of the movie. Burn it down, ladies. Take the fucking power back.
I was very interested in playing about all the different images a girl can have and how she can be seen, how she can be judged, and in the end, how she can empower herself to be very strong.
Simple plot, complicated movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really big. I think it's going to be, you know, at worst, I think it'll be like a really great cult classic. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's going to be embraced on a larger scale than that.
I would definitely recommend seeing it in
Absolutely.
theaters.
For sure.
Don't just stream it. We don't know how it's going to be released,
Yeah.
but would recommend seeing it in a larger format.
Yeah. I would absolutely, no questions asked, recommend it 100%. It's an incredible, vivid, thoughtful, clever, an insanely fun, while grotesque ride. And everybody should see it, I think.
I wouldn't judge it by the trailer.
Right.
The trailer does not do it justice. You just need to see it, and you need to see how visceral and vivid and gross this movie is.
For sure. Yeah. I think we're in agreement on that one. Take your kids to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Take your kids.
Take little Timmy to go see Revenge.
Teach them about life and teach them to not rape.
Or step on glass. Oh, Mike, again, I thought you got all your panties out of here, brother.
Get your panties in a bunch.
Hi, Mike here from Rabbit Hole TV, here with our mascot Pumpkin. Say hello, Pumpkin. Thanks for watching In the Fold. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. And if you really like what you saw, you can check out our Patreon, where we have behind the scenes photos and videos and other cool stuff if you want to get more involved with the show. Say hi, Pumpkin.